the Red Sox not overly hot of late. So, okay. First of all, what do you think the chance? Do you think they're for sure going to make the playoffs? They're at 74%.
They're 3 games up on Cleveland.
They're 3 games up on Cleveland. Everyone's tied. They're not winning the division unless there's a total breakdown by Toronto. But do you think it's a foregone conclusion that they make the playoffs?
Yeah, the better question, I think, is can you see Cleveland, Texas, or Kansas City catching them? And my answer would be probably not. Cleveland's got 2 of its best pitchers suspended with Ortiz and Class A. The Royals have sort of been injury hit throughout the year, and Texas, for whatever reason, just can't really get it going. So one of those teams would have to pass the Red Sox. And, honestly, over the last 35 games or so, I think they'll have enough to get one of the 3 wild card spots.
Well, Kansas City, out of the 3 teams you just mentioned, is the only team playing well. So, yeah, and that is not a team that I would be overly concerned about. All right, so let's fast forward to the playoffs. The way the team is constructed, say they have to go on the road, which I think they will, but say they have to go on the road in the playoffs, what do you think the chances are that they get past through that? Where are their strengths and weaknesses?
It'd be tough. I mean, they're 18 games over at Fenway, but they have not played as well on the road. Beyond Crochet, who starts game 2, probably Brian Bayo at this point. I think he's earned the nod over Lucas Giolito. And then once you get late into the game, who throws the 6th or 7th inning? I don't think they've identified bullpen pieces beyond Aroldis Chapman and Garrett Whitlock. So there are still some major questions for this team to answer with about 35 to go.
Okay, so that leads to an interesting point. Everything's all jammed up. Say it's those 3 teams, Seattle, New York, and Red Sox, and you're playing for home field at the end of the regular season. You mentioned Crochet starting game 1. If Crochet's up in the rotation and you've made the playoffs, but you're playing for home field, do you sacrifice Crochet in that game to get home field, or do you save him for the playoffs? Is home field worth enough to burn a start for Crochet?
If you like your right-handed pitchers matchups against potential opponents, then I would seriously think about it, because you just can't deny how much better this team has been at Fenway Park than it has been on the road. And just look at their record in extra inning games on the road and how many times they've been walked off and how much difficulty they've had in late innings. So the postseason is all about pressure situations close and late. And, away from Fenway this year, they just have not performed in those spots. So it is something that you would definitely think about if you felt like Bayo and Giolito could match up with a right-handed heavy lineup potentially against a playoff opponent. I think it's something that you absolutely have to factor in.
Yeah, and you also have to be thinking about the bullpen, which you wrote about, and we've talked about, and its importance in the regular season versus the postseason. But what I like that you said, Bill, was it really all conversations away from your starters and Aroldis Chapman, they all come down to one guy that really strikes fear into the heart of everyone, and we saw it again last night in Jordan Hicks. Like if he's coming into the game, all bets are off. And the comparisons you made between the Sox and what the Padres are working with right now, it's like they're playing 2 different games when it gets beyond the 6th inning. And as good as your closer is, there's just too much at stake for these guys right now to be handing the ball over to any number of bullpen guys. So how do you think that's going to factor in, and how is it going to play out for the Red Sox here in the next month or so?
Well, we saw the other day they went to Greg Weissert, and he's not a high strikeout guy, not a power arm, and he got stung on a slider out over the plate. Yes, the Red Sox lead the AL in bullpen ERA. I can't deny that, but if you look a little deeper, there are some numbers there that are concerning. They're 12th in strikeouts per 9. They walk too many guys out of that group. Garrett Whitlock has already topped his career high in appearances. He's at 48 games. He appeared in 46 in 2021, which was during a breakout rookie year and a postseason run. And like you mentioned with Hicks, this is a guy who turns 29 in September. He's not a prospect anymore. This is supposed to be the prime of his career, and I think what you see from him is obviously elite stuff, but he has not been able to command it. And these hitters are so good that if you don't command your stuff, whether you're throwing 101 miles an hour with a sinker and a sweeper and a split-fingered fastball, which he threw a lot last night in his outing, it does not matter. These guys will turn you around. They will wait you out. They will walk against you. And I don't think necessarily the Red Sox have identified a third option to go along with Chapman and Whitlock yet.
No. Given the state of the bullpen, which you wrote about, given the state of this lineup, which is platoon heavy, what do you think ownership thinks is a successful season this year? Is it making the playoffs? Is it playing meaningful games into the second week of September? Where's your mind at?
Well, start with attendance. They're second in the American League now. They've bounced back from a few lower seasons.
Yeah.
Woo-woo. Indeed.
Yeah. It's a success. Hey, there's people at the park.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
did it.
All right.
We said we were going to invest, and we did, at least
sort of
to our satisfaction.
Yeah.
And,
they also shed themselves of a mammoth salary. I don't know about investing, but okay.
Right. And they got it to the point where they are winning at home, and they have been entertaining at home, and they have been a good product on most nights. They do have some guys to get excited about, but this is not the superstar heavy team of 2018. You're not coming out to watch greatness on a given night, or 3 or 4 Cy Young winners in the rotation. And I think attendance, certainly, they'll look and they'll point at that. They'll look at the development of some of their younger players, the fact that they've been able to extend Roman Anthony. And,
okay, so that let's get to
roster.
that. So what concerns me about the extensions to Anthony and to Campbell is that great, they locked them up. That's fantastic and good for them, but good for everyone. I can understand wanting to get your money now. There could be a cap, there could be a lockout, all these things. But I would be concerned as a Red Sox fan that they would go, we're not going to do anything in free agency, and then they go, well, you're not spending any money. You go, what are you talking about? We've locked up our future. That and saying that that the money that they're spending on those, those prospects that have made the team, or in one case, that are on the team, that's where the money's going, and that's just not true. That's just a spin for something that's disingenuous.
Yeah, the problem with this has always been this pivot to sustainability, this pivot to building through the farm system and whatever else. The Red Sox are one of the teams with resources to do both. Mm-hmm. They can build through the farm system, they can retain their own players, and they can go out in free agency or in the trade market and add salary. They are one of the highest revenue teams in baseball. They always have been under this Henry ownership group. There was no question that they can do more with their roster than just about 25 teams in the game. They have chosen not to. They have made that choice in terms of spending. They've put in their own artificial salary cap, for lack of a better term, that they clearly will not go over. They've made this huge emphasis of not wanting to go over the competitive balance tax. And I think that's why you see so many holes in the roster, whether it's late in the bullpen or trying to platoon it at positions in the field. And you can't necessarily say that this is max effort or full throttle or however they'd like to spin it. It's just not that.
Right. And then you could understand now I don't understand the trade. Look, the trade deadline wasn't earth-shattering really for anyone, and look at what it's done for Texas. I mean, whatever. But deals like they made for Crochet, and you're at the point now where you should be dealing prospects to get better now, and that you should be signing free agents to get better now. An argument could have been made last offseason, the offseason before that. Like, well, this is a question that I don't think is even about money. It's about the player and the age and everything. Is Bregman, if you're the Red Sox, someone that you definitely want to bring back?
You certainly have to talk to him, but he, like anyone else, is going to have a price. And at some point, they're going to be uncomfortable with the price, I would think.
Is he a guy you sell out on, though, given his age? Like, is in injury history, is he a guy that you are the highest bidder on if you're the GM?
he went into last year looking for something that started with a 2 on it. And I think he's probably rehabilitated himself enough to the point where he's going to get an offer that's more than 3 or 4 years and something more than 30-35 million per. So the price point already. If you're comfortable going to 150 million times, 5 times 150, something like that, then you do it because he is a veteran presence. He will have value in October. He clearly has a good influence on your younger players. And he plays a position at third base where he came up as a shortstop. I think he can age well in that spot. And I think that you can surround him at the plate to the point where if he drops off a little bit, it's okay. He's still going to draw walks. He still has a good understanding of the strike zone, and that's not going to change. But like everyone else, the Red Sox are going to evaluate him at a certain price point, and if he gets offers over that, unfortunately, I think they would walk away.
Yeah, they're spending money on their terms, guys. They're not spending money on anybody else's. That's how they justify keeping the price point down.
Right.
That's what they've done. They ignored the major league roster for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but now would be the time that it's very difficult to make an argument that you shouldn't be improving it. All right, listen, Bill, Koch covers the Red Sox and so much more for the Providence Journal. Always a pleasure, sir. Always appreciate it. Thank you.
For all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.